You're listening to Storage Nerds Podcast, where we unravel the best-kept secret of the real estate investing world, the storage industry. Join the grassroots guru in self-storage, Stacy Rossetti, in insightful discussions about finding, funding, and running these spaces, allowing you to yield the highest returns possible. Get your foot in the door on self-storage and discover how to properly purchase facilities, negotiate with sellers, and close the deal without worries. Start unpacking that investment wisdom with Stacy right now.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to get into right now the stages of like storage investing. Okay, so this is like self-storage 101. This is like what you should be doing to get started, right? Is there any newbies here? Or does everybody own a storage facility? Introduce yourself in the chat because it's kind of quiet. But I just want to, see where everybody's at. And then as we go through this, the 4 stages, then let me know if you resonate with any one of the stages, if you're like in one of these stages. Okay. All right. This is the 4 stages of owning a storage facility. Okay. All right. So stage 1. All right. The goal of stage 1 is to get, I see one person amused me. I appreciate that. All right. So Solomon amused me and said, yes, I'm a newbie. Thank you, Solomon. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. So the goal is to get a storage facility under contract. This is the goal. If your goal right now is like, I want to get a storage facility under contract, then I'm in stage 1 right now. Okay. I'm in stage 1. Okay. All right. So what are the steps in order to get a storage facility under contract? All right. That's the question, right? That's the question of the day. So what you want to do, okay. Well, actually, let me just, I've gone over this in like previous sessions, and just so everybody knows, these are live sessions, right? So nothing's recorded or anything. So make sure you take notes if you're here. Okay. There's like 2 major ways, right? To get, to find a facility. All right. Number 1 is you can cold call. Okay. Or what I do is driving for storage. Okay, so notice that I do not put on here, go to a broker or a realtor and have them find me a facility, right? I do either cold calling or we drive for storage. Now, typically what we do now is virtually driving for storage, okay? But both of these you can do. Now, when you cold call somebody, right, or you virtually drive for storage, like these people are not ready to sell. Like they're not like thinking, oh, I wish somebody would just cold call me and ask me if I would sell their facility. No, like they're just not doing that, right? The ones that are online, the ones that are listed by brokers and are Crexy and all this stuff, those are all people that are ready to sell, right? If you didn't see my pitch, I pitched out 3 of my facilities I'm trying to sell. I am ready to sell those facilities mentally and like with all my documents and my P&Ls and balance sheets and all balance sheet and everything I have is all ready to go. These people right here are not ready to go. Like they don't have their numbers and stuff. And a lot of times you'll ask them for numbers and like it'll take them forever to get the numbers. Like we're talking to one owner right now in South Georgia, and we talked to him like 2 months ago. And he told us, yeah, like my CPA is working on the numbers. We're going to get you all the numbers. And like every time that we talk to him, he's saying, oh yeah, my CPA is still working on the numbers. Right. He was just not like running his facilities to the point where he had all his numbers, which is like typical, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just this typical thing when you talk to like owners, like they're just not going to have their stuff together. They're just not. Right. So just know that this takes a lot of time and effort. So, what you're going to do is you're going to build your list right? You're going to build a list by driving for storage, or you're going to, you could buy a list if you want to. You could just buy the list. I don't buy a list. I do it myself. But so you're going to build your list. I always teach go directly to the owner, because like every time that I have a realtor or a wholesaler in the middle of any deal that I ever do, it's just like such a pain in the butt, and the transaction is like just not fun, honestly. Like we're closing on a property right now, closing June on a property where like direct to the owner, and the owner, like I can call him, he'll hop on Zoom, he'll give me information directly. He's like working with us, he's patient, right? But then like I just closed on two facilities. One of them was through a realtor and the other one was through a wholesaler. And those transactions, I thought I was going to have a heart attack and die. All right, because they were just like so hard and stuff. It's always the 11th hour when you're working with a wholesaler and you're working with a realtor. Like every time you close on a facility, it's like always the 11th hour. I just don't get that. So for me personally, I go directly to the owner and just talk to him, and I build a relationship. And like, it's like so much easier if you just have this relationship directly to the owner. Okay. So my suggestion is directly to the owner. Now, all of the facilities that I've ever have found are going to be either from cold calling or driving for storage, except for the last two that I just closed on. And those were actually brought to me, like from somebody, like a student or somebody else. And, and I closed on them because they're really good deals. But, and then like, obviously, like deals are brought to me now, right? Because I'm like out there. So people bring me deals. Hey, what about this deal? What about this deal? So I closed on those too. But these right here, this is the best way, I'm telling you, to find deals. Okay. You want to build your list and you want to call owners. If you can, this is the way that you want to do it, because you're going to, and the thing too about it is that you're going to get the best bang for your buck if you can do these two things. Okay. So this is the ultimate goal. Now, if you're saying like, look, I ain't going to put the time and the effort in, I'm not going to call owners, I'm not going to build my list. It's just too much. Like, I just don't want to do that. So I'm going to just go on Crexy. Okay. Just know that if you go Crexy, LoopNet, or a realtor or broker or whatever you're going to do, then just know that prices are super duper high, ridiculous. Like we looked at one right now that like a student brought, and she was like, I think this is a good deal. And it was like, they wanted like 725, and we ran the numbers, and like the numbers came out at like 400 grand. Okay. So, and then you put an offer in for 400 grand, and then you just piss everybody off is what you do. Right. So, so I think if you can work with the owners and build a relationship, that's the best way to go. So my suggestion is step 1, build your list. Step 2, call the owners. Okay. And then after you call the owners, you're going to get all the information from them, from the owners, to run deal analysis. Okay. You got to get all the information. Now, if you have my deal analyzer or my course, I get into this where all you have to do is just input. You just know exactly what you need and then just input the numbers. All right. And then it tells you yes or no, this is a good deal. Right. But you have to run deal analysis. So what that means is that you need to have some sort of a spreadsheet where you can plug numbers in, run deal analysis, and then, look at the deal to see if it's a good deal or not. So you need to understand commercial deal analysis. Okay. You need to understand this. So the next step in getting a facility under contract is getting all the stuff to run the deal analysis, and then making sure that you understand whether or not it's a good deal. Okay. So that's going to be your next step. Building your list, calling the owners, getting the information, running the deal analysis, and seeing if it's a good deal. Okay. And then if it's a good deal, right, you got to put an offer in. This is where the deal analyzer, our deal analyzer comes, right? We don't put one offer in, we put 4 offers in. We have 4 to 5 offers in. You don't want to just put a cash offer in, or like, an offer in, because it's just not like, you need to get the people's wheels turning. Owners, especially owners that are not looking to sell, they want options. All right. If it was like a person that was like, I just want to sell and I'm going to go to a realtor and sell it and try to get the most amount of money that I can. There's like their mind is set on one path and one path only. Okay. So you're like, so you just put that one offer, because a lot of times too, when you offer like creative deal structures and stuff to realtors, they're just like, what? No, this isn't going to happen. Okay. But if you go in the back way, like I do, when you go to the owners and then you like, get to know them, you create a connection, you get all the information you need, and then you put in like 4 or 5 different offers, like creative deal structures, then their wheels start turning. And I'm going to tell y'all, over the next couple of years, owners are open to creative deal structures because they know that their price is not going to work with 9 and 10%. And guess what? Interest rates are 8, 9, 10%. I believe they're going to go over 10%. Like, who wants to pay 10%? The only way 10% works is if you're buying 50 cents on the dollar. Okay. If you are not getting your deal for 50 cents on the dollar, then you cannot go to a bank and get a loan right now. So you have to do creative deal structuring, and you have to understand this concept. So running deal analysis, understanding commercial deal analysis, and then you've got to understand creative deal structures. All right. Now, I have my boot camp coming up on July 3rd and 4th. It's like 2 full days of funding deals. How do you fund deals? It's going to be like raising private money. It's going to be creative deal structures, syndicating deals, and starting funds. I mean, going to banks and getting loans, like any type of way that you think that you can fund a deal. We're going to go over that in a 2-day boot camp, So the Storage Nerds doors are open right now. If you're interested, go to storagenerds.com. and then just fill out the application, and then you can get access to my calendar, and then we can go over the coaching program. But you need to learn creative deal structures, and you need to learn creative commercial deal analysis. Okay, this is your steps in order to get a storage facility under contract. Okay, and then so now we've put the offer in. Right now we've put the offer in. So, right now you got to negotiate the offer. Okay. So right now we're negotiating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 deals right now. And they're all one of them is not owner finance. 5 of those are owner finance deals. And then one of them is not, it's a cash offer. But one of them is in Texas. There's 2 in New York, 2 or 3, 2 in Georgia, 1 in Florida. I can't remember where they're at, but anyways, they're kind of all over. But anyways, so like it's just like we're going back and forth. Like what we do too is we put the offer in, and then if they come back and say, yeah, I'd be interested in discussing this or whatever, then I hop on Zoom immediately. I have a Zoom meeting with them. And then we discuss like, okay, how's this going to work? What are you open to? You're open to creative deal structuring or not? And then if they're whatever they're open to, whatever they want, we then just put it into a contract and we send the contract over. Like we do not go back and forth with an offer here. Here's another offer letter, whatever. Like we just send over the contract. And then, we put all the terms in and everything. And then the owner reads through those terms, and then they'll come back and say, oh, I want to change this. I want to change this. And so that is our negotiation tactic. That's our strategy, is like, just try to get it under contract. Right. And and then that process honestly takes like several weeks. I mean, you don't ever send over a contract. Actually, one time out of like the 16 deals that we had, like one time, like we sent over the contract, and then they just like signed it and send it back. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. But every other time you send the contract over and they're like, okay, change this, take this out, update this, change this or whatever. Right. So that like goes back and forth for like several weeks. A lot of times it takes forever. All right. So this is a long process. This is a very long process. So like, the hardest part of this whole stage is this part right here. all the way to the part where you're like building your list, calling your owners and getting all the information like from the owners. Like building your list just takes a long time, you know, and then you got to call the owners. We typically, my virtual assistant, so we have 10 virtual assistants that do nothing but call owners. And you know, the rule is you cannot call an owner until you have 300 names on the list. Once you have 300 names, then you're just like working that list, like you're just beating it to a horse and just doing a lot of follow-up and stuff. And then once you, and then you know, and then you could start building your list again, you know, once you kind of go through that list. But so yeah, so it takes a good, like, to build this list, I mean, it's like a month of work, really. And then to call the owners, you know, you just got to put the time and effort in, but to call the owners takes a while. I mean, it's not fun to call the owners, you know. It's fun when like an owner's like, yeah, I'd be interested. You're like, oh, then you perk up and you're like, yeah, let's do this. What do you want to do? You know, but up until then, it's just like you're just grinding, right? This part right here is just grinding. And then from there, then you have to get all the information from them so that you can run the deal analysis. And that takes time too, because a lot of times they don't have all that ready. So they're following up. And what about this? And what about this? And, you know, we're getting pretty good at that stuff, but it's taking us a good like 10 days or so, you know, to get all that stuff and put it into the deal analyzer, run the numbers and everything. And then, you know, run the numbers, and then you got to put the offer in, that, you know, put the offer and send them over. Then they get back like in a week. They don't, it's not ever like fast or anything. So then they're getting back to you, and then you're like negotiating, and that's going on. I mean, typically this is like this is about 90 days right here. All right. This is a good couple months. All right. Just like I said, the guy that bought the course, he bought it 5 months ago. It took him about 90 to 120 days to get his first deal under contract, and he's supposed to close in like, you know, 60 to 90 days. And so like, you know, within like 6 or 7 months, he'll have that thing under contract. I mean, he'll own a storage facility. And that is honestly what I see. That is about what it takes, just to give you guys an idea of how long this process is. This is not like, you know, this is not like fast. Okay. So then you negotiate the offer. And then after that, you know, you get it under contract. You negotiate a month, you're getting it under contract. Oh wait, so I should put send the contract. Send the contract and get it under contract. There is a contract in the course. So if you're like, I don't have a contract or whatever, there's a contract in the course. Everything you need is in the course, right? Okay, so that is stage one. That's the first stage. Stage one, get it under contract. Okay. All right, now you got it under contract. You're like, all right, man, the living's easy. Let's do this, right? All right, stage two. All right. The goal of stage two is to be able to take payments on the facility on the first day that you close the facility. All right, that's the goal. Okay, the goal. Okay, well, actually, there's two goals. The goal, take payments. And goal is actually not to close it, to actually close the deal, like close it and take payments. Those are your two goals, right? All right. So for stage two, okay. Let's see. So now, all right, you closed, you got it under contract. Now you're like, okay, crap. Now how do I pay for this thing? Right? How do I pay for it? All right, so now it's like you got to figure out what, you know, how you're going to pay for it. Okay. If it's owner financing, there's all different ways to fund a deal, but you could do owner financing. This is creative, a lot of creative deal structures. You know, if they want to, you can get a traditional loan. If they're like, no, like I do not want to owner finance this. You could do a traditional loan plus a creative deal structure, right? You could say like, look, okay, the bank is only going to give me $1 million and you want $1.5 million. Why don't you do a second on the back end while I buy, you know, if I buy this from a bank, right? So there's all kinds of creative structures that you could do. You could partner, you could JV. Let me put this down. You could partner or JV, partner, JV, kind of same thing. And then, And then if you partner, then of course you got to figure out like how you're going to set that up, right? Like a partner, it's the whole thing, all right? So, and then you could do traditional loans, you could do creative deal structuring, you could pay cash, obviously, you could syndicate. If it's a larger deal, then you could syndicate. You could borrow private money. You could, yeah, so private money or private debt. You could crowdfund, right? Or start a fund. That's what I have with my Self-Storage Fund of America, is I have like that. I'm like Self-Storage Fund of America is a crowdfunding fund, right? It's a way that I could pool money together. It's illegal to pool money together, right? So like I started the fund so I could pool money together. Okay. So let me see what else. Okay, so basically you're trying to fund it, is what you're trying to do. That's obviously close the deal. And so that's step one. I mean, that's that part, but you have to also be able to take payments. Okay, so you got to be able to take payments. This is what we call the onboarding phase. You have to onboard your facility. Okay, so onboarding your facility means that you have to figure out what your software is going to be. You got to get your merchant account set up. You've got to, you've got to be able to take payments. You've got your software set up. You've got your tenant insurance. It's like everything that you need in order to, like, when you close on that facility, you're able to like manage that facility. Right? Like, you don't want to be like me. My very first facility, I closed on it, then I was like, okay, now what do I do? I was like, oh my God, I got to take payments. Let me go get a software. Like that's basically how it was. Like I was just, running around like a crazy person, trying to figure it all out. So what we do is we do the onboarding beforehand. This process typically takes about 90 to 120 days, right? It's like to onboard software. A lot of the times, a lot of software companies, they take like several weeks to even onboard this. You got to go through their whole process and stuff. So you want to just be working on this before. Now, in my deal analyzer, there is a onboarding checklist, right? There's an onboarding checklist. So you can go through, there's about 50 different things that you have to do as our onboarding checklist. So you could always like change, update it or whatever, but like it's our onboarding checklist of all the different things that you have to do. So for instance, like insurance, like we just closed on an SBA loan. Oh my God, these are not fun at all. Right. But we had to have general liability insurance, a business policy, like insurance on the facilities, plus a business policy, plus workers' comp. Anybody would quote all that out and get it all done. And I mean, that took honestly like almost a month to get all these insurances that this bank wanted. All right. So, there's just like so much stuff that you have to do on the onboarding phase. You want to be able to take payments. You want to close on the facility, but you also want to be able to take payments like within that first week that you buy the facility. Okay. So, and a lot of times that does not work out unless you give yourself plenty of time on the back end to implement all the process. So if you wait till the very end, then you're going to screw yourself over. Okay. Now, one of my students, he just closed on a facility in Louisiana, and the facility was using a software to manage itself. Right. So he just kept that same software and they kind of just like, flipped the switch over. All right. And then he had he got all of that information imported over to his new website and everything or whatever. So, but the thing is no matter what, whatever software that you use, even if you can switch it over or whatever, you still have to get the payment information. So in the software, no matter what, you have to get the payment information from the owner or from the tenant payment info, and you have to get the contract signed, right? You have to get your contract signed. So, Yeah, so like, so this actually, you cannot do this until you close. This is actually stage 3. Stage 3 is like, now you own a storage facility. You own this storage facility. You closed on this storage facility. Now you own it. Now what do you have to do? Right? Because like the fun starts now, right? So you have to like basically contact the tenants, let them know that you're the new owner, get them to go online, get into the software, set up their account, sign the new contract, and get the payment information. Whether or not you're switching over from one or you're starting from new, this stage is hard. All right, because it's like chasing tenants. You're chasing tenants internally, because we have like, I think we have like, I don't know, we have a lot of tenants, like 1,500 tenants. And we just closed on a facility, it's like 500 doors. And so internally, we have one person that does this, because we're closing on a facility every quarter, every 4 months, 4 to 5 months, 3 to 5 months, we close on a facility. So like our person internally is just doing what we call, this stage is called the owner. So sorry, yeah, transfer ownership stage. This is the transfer ownership stage. Okay. And this is where that one person, whoever it is, you or somebody else, your VA or whatever, is calling the tenants, introducing ourselves. Hey, this is Miss Lillian Self Storage. We're the new owners of the facility, and we're the new management company or whatever it is. And like, we need to get you into the system so that you can get access to your account and get access to your stuff. So can you please log into our account, just go to misslillians.com and then fill out the information. And then while you're in there, you'll need to sign the new contract and put in your new payment information. Okay. And so, that's like a whole process, honestly, is to do that. Okay. That's called transfer ownership. And the main thing is getting them into the system. Now, while you're transferring ownership, when you own that facility, now you're doing one thing is boots on the ground, and you're doing you're hiring boots on the ground, right? So that you can have somebody to go out there, overlock, clean up trash and stuff. That could be you, or that could be like somebody else, right? But who's going to be the boots on the ground person to be the person that goes out there once a week, or however big the facility is, you need to go out there and do all the work that needs to be done out there. In the first 90 days, right? Then, there's a lot of work that goes on. And then after 90 days, not so much work, right? And then also, so boots on the ground, but you need the phone person. Phone systems, all right, set up. Now in stage 2, you can set up phones, right? But really what we do is we port the phone number over, right? Right when we close, we port that phone number over. So we just keep the phone number, port it over. But then we need somebody to answer the phones, right? We're not going to do that. So we have somebody answering the phones 24/7 so that we do not miss a call. But you have to get that really kind of set up after you close, right? Now in the onboarding process, you can be, searching for these, right? So we're searching for this, we have ads out and we're searching for these in the onboarding process, but the true real setup and implementation is after you close, because that's when people start getting the calls. You don't want to hire somebody after, because then you're going to start getting calls, and it's you have to train them and stuff. So you want to give yourself a couple of weeks to train these people, get it up and running, get the thing going and stuff. It's just yeah. Okay. So anyway, stage 3 is transfer ownership. Okay. All right, so now you transfer the ownership, and also each one of these stages that I said, this is 90 days, right? 90 days, typically. All right, and then stage 3 is 90 days. Okay. So you're doing this. Now, sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it's shorter, but on average, it's about 90 days. Okay. And so these are the 3 stages. Stage 1 is, getting it under contract. Stage 2 is closing on it and being able to take payments. Stage 3 is the transfer ownership stage, right? And you own the property. Now you're trying to just get it up and running is what you're trying to do, right? And then stage 4, the final stage, right? And the final stage is automation and systematizing. Okay. Automation and systematizing. Now you're like 90 days into owning this thing, couple months in, you're like, you know what? Like, I really need to get in there and like understand this software. And I really need to take advantage of it. I need to use this software with all that it offers, because the softwares nowadays, I mean, they really offer a lot of stuff that you can do depending on the software. Some are better than others or whatever. Some are cheaper, some are more expensive. But you want to get in there and you really want to utilize how much of this can you automate, right? So for instance, can you automate dynamic pricing? Can you automate if this is price increases? All right. Can you automate auctions? Can you automate tenant insurance? Tenant insurance. Can you automate like mailing like letters and stuff, or mailing letters, price increases or whatever you do? Can you automate emails? Okay. So you're getting in there and you're trying to automate everything as much as you possibly. There's like a ridiculous amount of stuff that you can automate in the softwares, but you want to get that all set up. And really the first couple months that you own a storage facility, you're trying to really get the tenants into the system and get their contract signed. So it's hard for you to really kind of get into the nitty-gritty of setting everything up. On the basics here, you have to set you set up the basics in the software. All right, you set up the basics, right? So you're going to have to put your unit mix in and your unit sizes and get your facility map set up and like this kind of stuff. That's really in stage 3, because that's when you have access to the software and you can get in there and start playing around with this. So you set really the basics up while you're trying to get the tenants in and get all their contract signed and their payment information and stuff. Okay. So that's kind of what you do. And then after a couple of months, you're like, okay, I'm kind of sort of I've got 80-90% of my tenants in. I'm kind of getting the hang of it. I'm answering the calls. I can kind of, have a script or have VAs training, have the boots on the ground going. Let me really get in and just create some systems, some maintenance systems, you want to set my pricing up. Is it going to increase in certain times and periods or whatever? And then how am I going to automate my auction process? Can I do that online, or do I have to do that manually? Can I, automate any emails or text message reminders, right? This is text, right? In my software, do they offer this or not offer this? Some softwares offer this, some softwares don't and stuff. All right. So you want to just whatever software that you use, you want to utilize it to as much as you possibly can. Because the truth is when I buy facilities or when my students buy facilities and they actually have a software that they're using, then I would say 80% of the time, most owners are only really using the software to put their tenants in. And then they're manually, if they want to go do a price increase, they're manually increasing those prices. But you really don't want to do that. You really want to automate that. You could set that up so that it's really kind of just managing itself. And you want to make sure that you find a software that you could do that. I mean, because, there's very basic softwares to amazing good ones that can automate everything. And so you just have to figure out how much do I really want to automate? Do I want to get in there and do this stuff myself? Or do I want to have it just where I could set it up and it just does it itself? Okay. And some people are different or whatever, but that's really it. Now also, and then this is going to take you about 90 days, right? And then also, so during this stage is when you're like, you know what, I feel like I can kind of just get out there and look for another storage facility. Like I can really focus, like, yeah, I've been looking and I've been seeing wholesale posts or whatever, but I really want to get out there and find a facility. I'm at that point now. And so then you can find another facility. All right. And then that whole process starts again. Okay. That whole process starts again. And then you're going back and then you're starting to get out there, build your list, talk to owners, call them, etc. Okay. So that is the 4 stages. I can put this here, 4 stages of finding a storage facility and getting it under contract, owning it, buying it. That's really what you want to go through. Okay. Now these stages, all these stages here, you can do like one of 2 things. You can, if you need help with this and you want some walkthrough, then you can just get the course and it will walk you through all of this. So everything I just talked to, every point I just talked to is all into the course and then some. All right, so go to stacyrossetti.com and just click on the course, Super Simple Self-Storage. It'll walk you through that. The one thing that there's in the course, it teaches you how to do deal analysis, but the deal analyzer is a separate product. Okay. So if you want to be that person that puts out like more than one offer, then you want to get the deal analyzer because it will calculate it calculates 5 offers for you at the same time. Okay. That's the deal analyzer. So that's available to you as well at stacyrossetti.com. Now, if you're seeing this and you're like, okay, I really want to, I really want to get some, like a mentor coaching on this, then you should definitely check out Storage Nerds. The doors are open right now to Storage Nerds. Okay, Storage Nerds, I take 10 people every 3 times a year. I take 10 students. Okay, and so if you're interested in actually having me hold your hand, walk you through the process, then I would highly recommend getting onto storagenerds.com and then just filling out the application so that you can get access to my calendar, and then we can discuss what your goals are in storage. All right. If you truly want to buy a storage facility and close within the next 6 months, just like it says, you're going to close this within 90 to 120 days. You want to close a storage facility and buy one, then I can help you to do that. Okay. So that is storagenerds.com. Okay. And then if you're watching this and you're like, okay, this is a lot of work. Like, this is not what I was thinking, right? This is not really what I was thinking. What you should do is you should become a passive investor. All right. So that is because, I talked about how do you fund deals, right? That's right here. How are you funding all these deals? And there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can fund deals: owner financing, creative deals, go into a bank and get a loan, right? This is the one that we have right now that is called the Self-Storage Fund of America. In the last 90 days, from December until now. Well, yeah, so in the last 90 days, I've syndicated 4 deals. All right. And I've done those through either a private syndication, or I've done it through the fund from the Self-Storage Fund of America. So if you're interested, just go to, and the website is stacyrossetti.com, and you can get the course here or the deal analyzer. Okay. Or you can go to stacyrossetti.com /fund. And then I pitch the fund every single week. And then you could hop on and you could become like a passive investor. You're just like, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. Okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to just put my money in. I'm going to let somebody make the money for me. That is passive investing. So that's stacyrossetti.com /fund. Okay. All right. So I see there was one question. It was, what insurances are needed if you're not an SBA loan? The same insurance. You don't need workers' comp because you're not going to have employees, like a W-2 employee, typically you're not. If you're going to have a W-2 employee, then most likely you'll need workers' comp. But if you're not going to have a W-2 employee, then you are going to need like hazard insurance, which is like if there's a fire, tornado, whatever, a tree falls down on a unit, that's hazard insurance. And then also you're going to need a business policy. All right. So you're going to need the same things that I needed when I closed all my deals. I always close. And then also on the insurance, like whoever is going to be the person that lends you that money, like if it's going to be a bank or an owner or whatever it is, they need to be named on that policy. So just in case, you die or something, or like, the thing burns down, their loan will be paid off first, and then whatever's left over you get. Okay, that's kind of how it works. So those are the two insurances that you need. Okay, and any other final questions before we hop off? I appreciate you guys listening. And again, you could just go back to stacyrossetti.com. Everything that I have, everything that I do is on that website. Okay. And then there's one more question. Boots on the ground is a 1099 employee? Yeah, typically they're 1099 employees. Okay. Yeah, so contract worker. All right, good. Well, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Again, this is the last Monday night session. So next week it's going to start. The trainings are going to start Wednesdays at 1:00. It's called the weekly Wednesday webinar, and it's going to be at 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to keep learning, make sure you block that out. Wednesdays at 1:00 every week. I'll be here to teach you how to invest in self-storage. All right, I appreciate your time. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Storage Nerds. Hope this informative conversation inspired you to go out there and jump into this highly profitable business venture that people rarely talk about. Get more tips on storage space investing at www.stacyrossetti.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and leave a rating. Together, let's build that thriving passive income one storage space at a time. Until next time.